Senior Mining Analyst Barry Allan with Mackie Research to speak basically on where we are in the market today. As Minister Cullen mentioned, Barry is consistently ranked as one of the top 10 gold precious metal mining analysts in Canada, and Barry has also covered many Manitoba exploration and mining companies over the years. So welcome, Barry.
Thank you, Tim, and welcome everyone and fellow Manitobans and mining types. When Tim initially asked me whether I could give a sort of a capital markets perspective on where we are in the markets, little did he tell me that I'd have to deal with a hand grenade over the last five days. So without further ado, and I apologize if I go quickly, I am somewhat used to talking to traders who have a very short attention span, so I will tend to make this a visual presentation and try to keep it short. So where are we? And I'll start with gold because it's close to my heart. This is a company you may know. It's called Klondex Mine. Just recently has moved into Manitoba. What I like particularly about this chart, not only does it show you where we are in this cycle, and we are in a new bull market in gold, but it also shows you what success can bring to the table when you do things as promised. And with that last little spike that we have on Klondex, that shows us where we are in the cycle for gold producers. So we are in a bull market for gold. It's not only the gold producers. There's a company here in Manitoba called Minova who are looking at developing a known asset. It's not in production, but it is looking at coming back into production, and we were fortunate enough to help raise some money for Minova, but it shows that this bull market has extended not only in producers, but it's gone into developers who are not actually producing cash flow, and that's a positive sign. I can go even further and say, where are we in this gold cycle? We've come down the market cap table fairly substantively. I could have taken a number of companies. I actually chose this one a little bit at random. It's called Strike Point Pure Exploration, Western Ontario. I could have probably put Major Drilling, which is one of your sponsors, who is a drilling company, which show you the same thing. The market is embracing exploration in gold, and that's also a very constructive sign about where we are in this bull market for gold. What have been the drivers? It's been the low interest rate environment that we've had globally for gold that's helped support it. We've had a surprise outcome on the Brexit vote, which really threw a wrench into capital markets, and particularly the dollar. We have the surprise U.S. election, which maybe I'll talk a little bit more about because it has really distorted capital markets over the short term. But we've had also a very stable physical demand for gold in the face of rising prices. These have all helped give us this new gold market that we're enjoying. What are the considerations for the future? Well, how long are we going to continue to live at these low interest rate environment? We've already seen evidence that we've got some pressure upwards on it, which has translated into higher rates. What's the prospect for the U.S. economy and the U.S. dollar? And here I have to step back. The last 5 trading days, and the slide you see here are only 4 days old. If I'd updated them as of yesterday, they would have been actually vastly different than what you're seeing here. The last 4 days in capital markets, everyone's scratching their heads. What the hell's going on? We can't really figure it out. Totally contrary to what we thought. We thought a U.S. dollar, a stronger gold price. That has not happened. And so we'll have to stay with this agenda a little bit further to see how it plays out, but it's certainly my speculation the capital markets we're seeing, particularly in gold, is not a real one. Also going forward, we'll have to see about the dominance of Chinese pricing. They've opened up their exchange to price gold. What impact will that have on pricing? And something which is also a bit controversial, remove the Muslim restrictions on owning gold. You know, prior to really this year, there was quite a restriction on the Islamic world owning gold. So what's that going to bring for the future? So those are a little bit unknowns, but I would conclude we are in a bull market for gold. We still are in a bull market for gold. It's extended past the gold producers. It's into the developers and down to the exploration level. That's been very positive in my opinion. Base metals, not really my forte, but I'm going to let the charts do the talking here. Price of Hudbay over the last 3 years. You can see we're off the bottom. So the worst has happened and things are getting better. That's largely been driven by the price of zinc. There is certainly a constructive argument that's going around about zinc pricing and what it looks going in the future, but also it's been more laterally driven by the price of copper and some speculation on what the price of copper may do. I conclude we're off the bottom in base metals. I wouldn't call it a bull market, but I would certainly say the bear is behind us. And when I look at a diversified company, which is Vale, which also is active in the province, you'll see exactly the same chart, even though the more primary driver there from an operative perspective might be iron ore and nickel. So the worst is behind us, and it's a pretty sharp drop you've seen. Are we in a bull market? We're certainly more constructive, but I don't know that I would actually call it a bull market per se. And let's go one step further. The success of exploration. Here's another company that's operating within the province, has recently released some very favorable drill results, and you can see that pretty well reflected in the share price there as well. My conclusion from this chart, success will always drive the share price, no matter what commodity you're actually in. Selective metals, I'm just kind of outside the box here. This is not something I think the province is very active in. We've seen quite a bull market in lithium. I just took Lithium X, it's one that I'm familiar with. That's a very steep price rise. To the point where I would say, maybe we're a little overdone here, and maybe our best days have happened, and perhaps we're dominated in this market now by a little bit too much of me too. And I would not suggest that that might be sustainable, but we've had certainly a good rally in some of the metals outside of what we'd call our traditional metal groups. Tim also, when he invited me here, he also wanted to throw out something and say, how does the capital markets really look at Manitoba from a mining perspective? And this is a little bit more difficult to answer, but certainly I can tell you that Manitoba is not known for its gold mines at all. Unlike Ontario or Quebec, it's not a province that's seen as being a gold haven. It is anchored, seen as a copper, zinc, nickel environment, primarily because of the large two producers that are active in the province. It's known, though, as a very friendly mining jurisdiction, probably the second best, if not the foremost, in Canada, and that is quite well known within the capital markets. Contrary to perhaps one of the slides we've seen, you're still relatively known as a low energy cost environment, particularly if you want to compare that against our province, which is Ontario, which has not been very favorable at all. It's known to be underexplored. I can't give you an answer for that, but I can certainly reiterate a comment earlier that some greenstone belts have not even seen a geologist. I think that's generally well understood in our capital markets, that this is an underexplored province. And I would not say necessarily geologically overlooked. I have cruised around a little bit of the billboards that the province of Manitoba has put up. There looks to be a very active mining academic community here, as supported by the province. Lots geologically known, but I'm going to come back to that point, is it is still, from a capital markets perspective, seen as a very underexplored jurisdiction. I'll try to get back to that one. Where do the opportunities lie? Again, this is a little bit more of a subjective call. Short term, yeah, gold projects, it definitely is something we've been able to finance in the market. We had no problem raising $130 million for Klondex. For Minova, not quite $130 million, although I think some of the people at Minova wish it would be closer to that. But it was well received by the capital markets. And it's either restarts or exploration. The market and the investor community is supporting companies in gold active at all three levels. Exploration of known metal camps, just as we've seen, assets that are known that have not really been looked at in the last while. The market is embracing that, and the market is embracing grassroots as well. Particularly, again, I come back to more gold. Outside of the province, we've been having good success in raising money for grassroots exploration, and those are companies that really don't have an identifiable asset. They're out there looking for the next identifiable asset. So the markets are supporting that. I haven't seen it so strong in base metals. I didn't find a chart here on base metals exploration that I thought was very constructive, because I don't know that it really exists at this point in time. I don't think in base metals we've seen that kind of level of support flow through to the grassroots exploration. As I pointed out, beautiful looking chart in lithium explorers. I think it's overdone and a bit late. I would not advocate that would be a place that you'd want to go start looking. And maybe to harken back a little bit as well, which is maybe a bit more controversial, is where the opportunities lie. I'd say strengthening of mining associations. The mining industry, when it works together, talks together, it typically yields some fairly good results. So everything that we can do to strengthen those mining associations is always good for any jurisdiction, and in particular in this case, I would say Manitoba. So I hope in the 15 minutes allocated to you, I was able to cover the bases, if you will, and I'll just say thank you.